respect you, I love you, I need you, you know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Smackdown review. This one is probably going to be fairly quick because number one, WrestlePalooza is tomorrow. Number two, nothing happened on this show as per usual, okay? There were like a couple things that I think were meaningful. You can tell that this week they made a clear effort to not have a 0 out of 10 product, and this episode was probably like a low, like single digit number, but it wasn't a 0 out of 10, you know what I'm saying? There's at least certain things that I can be like, wow, you know, they gave some effort there, that was decent, or that was a step up from the absolute garbage we've been getting. But like I always say, it's hard to go down from the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You can't fall off the ground. It's impossible. You get what I mean? So when you've been having a bunch of 0 and 1 out of 10 shows, you know what I'm saying? You basically have a spot where you're now having to just be, grateful that you get a 2 or a 3 out of 10 show. And that's probably the range that this show is in if we're being realistic about it. With WrestlePalooza happening tomorrow, I want you guys to get excited. You know what I'm saying? I want you guys to be happy about what's coming your way. Because I do have a feeling that with WWE's backs against the wall, the first WWE pay-per-view that they've had to actually like pay over $20 to $30 for in many years at this point, I actually am expecting at least a decent or noteworthy show tomorrow. That probably means more classic cheap pop shock factor booking from Triple Funda, the game. But anyways, you know what I'm saying? That's not the point. The point is this. We actually have a possibility tomorrow to get a decent show, in my opinion. The amount of press and publicity they've had. I mean, Triple H is out there in Indiana doing the Pat McAfee show and doing ESPN First Take in New York or wherever it is, rather than actually booking the shows on SmackDown and Raw. So I am assuming that they are confident in the fact that WrestlePalooza will be a big hit, or at least a hit in general. Anything would be a step up, like I said, from a 0 or a 1 out of 10 content, which is what we've been getting on PLEs and shows week to week, pretty much consistently all year. So there you have that. With that being said, let's get into the SmackDown review. We'll wrap it up and we'll get into WrestlePalooza. Now, we started off with Brock Lesnar doing an ambush. He's scheduled to have an interview segment with Michael Cole, and Michael Cole actually gets picked up by Lesnar and thrown into the ring. Brock Lesnar doesn't even let him ask a question, which I thought was funny. I like this because this is classic Brock Lesnar that I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? Like, Brock Lesnar just comes out there and beats people up and just looks like a beast while doing it. It looks epic. It looks sick. You know what I mean? And then Paul Heyman's usually his mouthpiece, which we'll talk about Paul Heyman in a second. You know what I'm saying? Paulington Heyman. Brock Lesnar goes out there. Brock Lesnar ambushes Paul Heyman. He stands over him. Corey Graves then goes out and tries to stop Brock Lesnar from beating up Michael Cole. And Brock Lesnar decides to F5 Corey Graves. Corey Graves sells it great. I think this is writing him off TV so that Wade Barrett can come back to commentary with good old Joe T. You know what I'm saying? Joseph Tessitore. Now you have that situation. Lesnar F5s Corey Graves, goes outside the ring, throws the prime bottles, throws the steel steps. He's super upset. Then after that, he gets back in the ring and talks to the camera, and he says, John Cena, I'm coming for blood. So you guys remember the Extreme Rules match from 2012 with these two? You know what I mean? Great match, by the way. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out, okay? That match was really good. You know what I'm saying? There was blood between both of them. It was an actual real-looking brawl with good fighting and solid in-ring storytelling, okay? I think they're going to bring back shades of that for tomorrow's match, and Brock Lesnar telling the camera, Cena, I'm coming for blood. I think that's what this is alluding to. He then F5s Corey Graves again and walks off. That's basically it. Then we get backstage. Paulington Heyman is standing there with Braun Breaker and LeBrunson Reed, and they're basically, but Brock Lesnar goes up to Heyman and says, hey, Heyman, we should talk. Now, remember, the last time we saw Brock Lesnar and Paulington Heyman was, I think, around the time of SummerSlam 2022 when he lost to Roman Reigns in the last man standing match at SummerSlam. Another banger match. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, okay? Now, after that, randomly 3 years later, all of a sudden he's cool to have a talk inside with Paul Heyman? It makes no sense when you think about it. You get what I mean? Brock Lesnar should not be actually trying to have a conversation with this guy. But I guess because it's Brock Lesnar's first time back, he's trying to get an upper hand, and Paul Heyman's character is a snake, so maybe he sides with Lesnar, and Lesnar will eventually topple the, the Vision, and then Heyman will turn from the Vision and go side with Lesnar, and Lesnar may win the world title from Seth Rollins. That is a possibility that can happen. I'd be down for that if I'm being honest with you. I mean, Brock Lesnar and Heyman with Lesnar with the world title, that's a much better outlook for Raw than having the Vision group, which again makes no sense. They haven't been seen together in weeks. Seth Rollins is much better off without Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and LeBron James Jr. and Bronny James and Bryce James. And also, you have Paul Heyman as well. He's better off without all those people. Just have him with his wife and hang out with her, for a few months or something. This Vision faction is stupid. It makes no sense and it's dumb. Seth Rollins fought the whole entire Mania 40 run to topple Roman Reigns' tyranny and him doing these factions just to go back and start a faction. Like, none of it makes any sense. Then you fast forward to this year, we have a situation where Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed have not been elevated at all inside of this faction. Why would they sit in subservience in a faction to Seth Rollins when they can go fight for an IC title or a world title themselves? You get what I mean? Like, why would you do that? You can't say Braun Breaker's the future of WrestleMania, but he's sitting as a jobber to Seth Rollins. They're like, it's not furthering anything. It makes no sense. The promos are usually boring. The storylines have gone nowhere. They've done nothing of note that's been great all summer, basically all year at this point. It's a trash faction and everyone knows it. The viewership and ratings will tell you that, okay? So it's as simple as that. And in the midst of all of this, we have multiple other issues. Number one, obviously, we have to bring up the fact that before the main event of Clash in Paris in that world title fatal 4-way, Seth Rollins literally said he doesn't need division. He never needed division. And therefore, if he can't, retain the belt himself, then he shouldn't have it. He said all those things about division and proceeded to not show up for them at all, not say anything about Paul Heyman being injured by his greatest foe, Roman Reigns, and just moved on completely. But I guess we throw out all that storytelling and now they're back together, good as new. Yeah! Everything is awesome! Like, what are we doing at this point, man? Nothing follows through with Triple Fraud's booking. It makes no sense for this faction to still be here for a multitude of reasons. On top of that, why did Brock Lesnar attack John Cena? We have no reasoning. We have no answers. We have no storyline here. You can try and say, oh, the story writes itself. Well, they've written the same story already in the past, so why are we seeing it again then? There has to be a new reason, some type of creative reason why this is happening. We can't just do on the nose, it's Cena's last run, let's force Lesnar in for a cheap shock value moment. That's not gonna work, man. John Cena deserves better than that, man. He deserves a better and more deeper layered final story than this, and everyone knows it at this point. It's embarrassing. Now, let's move on from this. We then got a women's tag match with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. You know what I'm saying? Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair obviously pick up the dub over the Secret Harvest with Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. This is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, Chelsea Green and Alba Fire were not going to win this match, so that's that. Nothing really to say about the match here. It was decent for what it was, but nothing really too special. I guess Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss will hold these titles until maybe like Rhea and someone else teams up or something like that. I could see Rhea Ripley and Nikki Bella maybe having a tag team and they topple them down, or maybe it's Rhea and Io in a couple months after they fight against Asuka and Kairi Sane. You know, you never know what could happen with that, but that's a situation with the women's tag teams. Then we basically have the Vision fight against Fraxium. Nobody cares. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker absolutely destroy these dudes, these absolute jobbers who are a great NXT tag team. Now on the main roster, I think they've had like 4 or 5 matches in like 6 months and have lost every single one of them at this point. So that's that. Then Nia Jax comes out and says a whole lot of nothing. I do appreciate the fact that she tried to show some charisma here. She had a couple funny lines, basically making fun of how annoying Tiffany Stratton is and how Jade Cargill should trade in, you know what I'm saying, her wrestling skills because they suck. There was a couple really decent moments in here. I kind of enjoyed it. Nia's not awful on the mic, but she's obviously not good either. There's some polishing that needs to happen, but I'd rather listen to this promo than a Tiffany Stratton promo. Apparently, Tiffany Stratton was supposed to have a triple threat with Jade and Nia tomorrow at WrestlePalooza, but eventually it got canceled because Tiffany Stratton got hurt. So now we're paying $30+ for 5 matches tomorrow. Anyways, we then move on from this promo. Really nothing came from this other than the fact that we're going to get a Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Jade Cargill triple threat for the WWE Women's Championship next week on SmackDown. I do believe that this championship is going to change hands. I think Nia or Jade is going to get that W. So we'll talk about that next week, of course. Then we get Carmelo Hayes versus Samuel Zayn. This match was actually really good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining, except for the finish. The Miz was on commentary the whole time because Corey Graves got written off earlier. And I got to say, this match was entertaining. You know what I'm saying? It had good athleticism, good selling. It had a bunch of cool move sets, obviously, some decent false finishes. Even though we knew Sami was going to win, there was a little bit of drama because a part of you thought, hey, maybe Carmelo has a chance. You know what I'm saying? It is Carmelo Hayes. He's been fighting for this title, it feels like now, for a year and a half, and he's finally featured on TV doing something of meaning. So I hope that he would win this match, but obviously I knew he wasn't going to. Sami Zayn gets the win off of an awkward standing still haluva kick into a blue thunder bomb and just pins him clean in the middle of the ring. Very odd way to win the match. I would have had Carmelo Hayes probably, lose this match as well, to be honest, because I think Carmelo Hayes will try again for this championship maybe in a month or two, and I think that's when he will eventually win it. You get what I mean? Or it would be sick if tomorrow during the WrestlePalooza show, they just add on Carmelo Hayes versus Sami Zayn, you know what I'm saying, in the middle of the show after a trash talk segment. That would actually be creative and interesting and unique, and it would feed into the best of 7 gimmick that Melo has, man. I think that would be pretty cool, but we'll see what happens with that. Sami Zayn retains the belt, but this was a pretty good and entertaining match. And there was a couple of backstage segments with Damian Priest throwing Kit Wilson through a wall backstage or something like that. And then we got to the main event, I'm pretty sure, with with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre's contract signing. Gotta give a shout out to Drew McIntyre reposting this video on Twitter that people have been posting around all week, saying that this guy, I think this is Dean Withers or something like that, some guy who like posts TikToks or whatever, and he was basically talking about, I don't know what this guy was talking about in the clip, but he's basically kind of going like, I have respect for you, I have love for you, and the way he sounds in the clip, it sounds exactly like Codarius Rodington. So, that was pretty funny. Drew reposted that and said a sneak peek of Cody's promo tonight, and it kind of felt like a full circle moment, you know what I'm saying? Finally, people are calling out the respecty hero promos that Cody Rhodes has been cutting for 2 years, it feels like. Now, as for the actual contract signing, pretty much nothing of note happened here. Codarius Rodington basically got on the mic and told Drew McIntyre that, simply, you've been, instead of a Scottish warrior, you've been a keyboard warrior recently, okay? He reminisces on the fact that they won tag team championships together like 15 years ago or something like that, and then basically says tomorrow your legacy will be that on the first WWE ESPN show, you got beat by Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre then calls Cody a corporate champion and basically says that after all the damage Drew did to him, Cody's now here talking his head off and says that the fans will eventually move on from you and get tired of you and they'll move on to a new flavor of the month. He then signs the contract, they brawl a little bit, and Drew McIntyre beats him up on the outside of the ring, gets the upper hand, and stands tall. I'm hoping that this means that, even though they stay, Drew McIntyre stood tall, that means that people are going to be expecting Cody to win. Maybe they actually have Drew, win the championship tomorrow. I did see The Rock promote WrestlePalooza on his Instagram today, so maybe The Rock will show up tomorrow and reveal Drew as his new champion. You know what I'm saying? The new corporate champion for The Rock. You get what I mean? That'd be a cool story and a pretty cool way to end the show tomorrow and actually turn some heads and actually tell a good story with someone who's actually capable of doing so in Drew McIntyre. So with that being said, I can't stop thinking about Punk, and I can't stop thinking about Randy, and I can't stop thinking about Cody. So thank you guys for watching. Have a phenomenal day. I'll see you guys for WrestlePalooza tomorrow night. One love. Peace out. Forgot the order of it. We're going to run this back like Jey Uso. One more time. Ooh, have a great day. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.